Hello and welcome to Travel Tech in 20, presented by Executive Travel. Thank you all for being here today. Travel Tech in 20 is a 20-minute technology briefing to keep those in the travel industry up to date on products and services that could help disrupt the industry, but more importantly, to help improve your program. That's what we've heard that you were looking for, and so we've tried to accommodate that. Before we get started, I'd like to remind you all that your information is completely confidential and will not be shared. If you have any questions or would like to schedule a demo after the presentation, you'll be provided their contact information. You can also let us set one up for you if you would prefer. You can contact myself, Corey, or your client solutions representative, and we'll work with Jeff and get a demo set up for you. If you have any questions, we have a brief window at the end of the presentation for that. If you look on the right-hand side of your your window, you'll see the bar there. You can ask questions through there, and we'll get to those at the end. And then finally, this presentation will be recorded, and I will send it to you all along with the presentation deck tomorrow. Now, without further ado, I'd like to introduce Jeff Burke, who will be our presenter today. Jeff is an expert in corporate travel and expense and procurement technologies, and as CEO of TripKicks, he focuses on unlocking cost savings and increasing employee satisfaction by better aligning traveler interests with those of their organization. Jeff began his career at IBM Global Business Solutions before moving to Aquis Consulting Group, where he was the managing director and oversaw business development and partnerships for its rapidly growing technology solutions practice. He's worked with over 50 global organizations and helped them advance travel, expense, and procurement functions. So without any longer wait, Jeff, why don't I hand it over to you and explain a little bit about TripKicks today?
Great. Thanks, Brian. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. First, I want to say thank you to the team from Executive Travel for having us, and most importantly, thanks to all of you for taking some time out of your day, supporting this series and hearing about some great new technologies. As Brian mentioned, my name is Jeff Burke. I'm the CEO of TripKicks. We're a travel technology platform that companies can add to their existing platform to help them save money, improve policy compliance, and increase traveler satisfaction. We do that by enabling companies to reward their travelers for making better, more cost-conscious, and policy-compliant travel decisions. So really focusing on those who truly go above and beyond what your companies require of them. So while we're a newer technology, a lot of our team has some pretty deep roots in the travel and expense industry, and we've really been fortunate to work with many large organizations over the years. You heard a little bit about my background, but I've worked with a lot of companies in helping them advance their T&E policies, implementing new processes, new technologies, helping them expand globally. Throughout my time at Aquis, I spent a lot of time working with the Fortune 500s doing this. Aquis is one of SAP Concur's largest and longest standing partners, so we got to know that organization very well. But really, through this work, we've really got to learn a lot of the ins and outs of the T&E industry. We've learned the landscape, we've learned its technology, and probably most important, we've learned what's important to larger organizations. We've really developed an appreciation of just how different companies are from one another. So, the concept of rewarding travelers who go above and beyond isn't really new. Right? We find that companies will sometimes have a piece of this that's present today within their program, whether it's allowing an employee to purchase dinner if they're staying at a friend's house, or maybe even a flat reward if they decline business class when they're eligible, right? And we're seeing more and more software providers kind of embrace this as well. So while they're all different, most have tried to build a pretty off-the-shelf type solution, which is really good for smaller companies that have simple travel and expense, but it's a little bit more challenging for larger ones. So we've really developed TripKicks because we felt, these companies needed a solution as well, right? Companies who are larger, more complex, those who have existing managed travel programs in place, they need something that fits within their existing landscape, that works alongside their travel agency partners, integrates with software like Concur, and probably most importantly, something that can really be tailored towards them to fit with their particular program, their policy, and their culture. So at TripKicks, we've really embraced this flexibility concept, and we allow companies to approach this concept in a way that really makes sense for them. So the result is simple, but what this means is that, it's a very configurable platform, and companies can determine items such as, how the budget logic is determined when there's a budget, how rewards align with their compliance goals, and things like corporate card usage, online booking tool adoption, timeliness of expense reports. They determine what the rewards are, right? Maybe they don't want to allow cash, or maybe they don't want monetary rewards at all, right? What percent of the savings could be shared with their traveler? And we'll go into a little bit more detail on all those areas and a little bit more. So on the process side, to start, it needs to be simple. And we have a proprietary algorithm that basically will develop a real-time company-specific budget that's integrated into the point of sale or the online booking tool. And if a traveler is able to spend less than that in a way that's compliant with their company policy, which is really important, they're rewarded for their behavior. So really the company saves money and the traveler shares in that savings. So really kind of emphasizing that win-win concept. So we'll break down each of these points into a little bit more detail, and then I'll also jump into a quick demo. So the first part of this is really calculating that budget. And what we always say to people is this is probably the most important thing that we do, because it's got to be right. It's got to be accurate for a company. So we've got a proprietary algorithm that has a number of different inputs, and you're seeing the three most important ones here on the screen. So to start, we're integrating the preferred suppliers from the global distribution system. So the preferred rates and fares that a company has, we're pulling those into our tool. We're also building in the travel policy of a given company. So this is everything from what's their written policy rule to how is the online booking tool set up, as well as any cultural norms or expectations, right? Maybe it's, if you're flying from California to New York, the red eye is cheaper, but you don't expect the employees to take the red eye, right? So we look at all of those, in addition to doing a pretty in-depth historical data analysis. So our team's actually looking at historical travel data, companies' historical travel data, and we're looking for additional insights that might help inform that budget calculation. So maybe in the headquarters city, we want to base the budget on the hotel that's right next door to the company, right? Because they've got a great rate there and it's really convenient. Or maybe we want to take the lowest of these 3 hotels or an average of these 5 hotels. So we really have the ability to get very granular. So again, it can make it very specific and accurate for an organization. It's also critical that TripKicks not only aligns with, but helps to reinforce company policy as well. So companies can choose what they want to reward, and also, as importantly, what they don't want to reward, right? Maybe they haven't embraced Airbnb for work yet, and they want to focus on, the business class trade-off of allowing people to, giving them an option to not fly business class when they're eligible and earn rewards off of that. Maybe companies want to start with a few trade-offs and add in more later. They really have that option to do that. Companies also get to determine what compliance levers they want to use. So while, saving money is required, maybe you also need to make sure you're using your credit card or booking, 14 or 21 days in advance and also doing your expense report on time, right? Because that's really important. If you earn, maybe if you're booking last minute, you're not entitled to rewards, or you're entitled to half of your rewards, right? It's all up to your organization, and we just allow these configuration controls and really put them at your fingertips. We've built a really configurable rewards portal. So yeah, it's got standard items like e-gift cards and charities. We'll add in company-supported charities, of course. We also allow for cash. If an organization wants to activate that, we transmit that over to a company's payroll department for them to handle the distribution. But we've also, we've really been focused on adding kind of more creative, either travel-related rewards, things like Clear, who's a new partner of ours, and also custom rewards, right? That could be really company-specific, right? Maybe your organization has an internal thank you program, and we want to integrate TripKicks into that. For us, that's great. We really want this to fit your organization. So I'm going to go through now a very quick demo of the platform. And while I'm kind of getting that ready, I just want to mention, it was really important for us to make the process very seamless for the end user, right? We know how important that is. We know that we don't want to add more steps to their process. So I'm going to show the platform as it integrates with Concur Travel and Expense. So the process for the end user is really no different than it is today. So let's say I'm booking a trip from New York to Chicago, going next week. I'm going to type in my search parameters. What we're doing is we're now reading those search parameters. We're sending that up to our budget algorithm, and we're looping through any of the company-specific policies and rates and fares. And then we're really doing two things. Number one, we're showing this budget that's directly here in Concur, so this kind of clean budget banner on top. And then within each option, we're mapping the potential rewards that an employee could earn underneath each option. So it's very clear for a traveler to see, hey, if I'm able to take one of these less expensive flights, there's something in it for me, right? And you can see as the price of the ticket goes up, the rewards potential goes down, all the way through when we either meet or exceed the budget and we see that it's no longer eligible for rewards. So we're not changing the process. We're not reorganizing the suppliers. There's nothing flashing at the traveler. We're just simply applying some additional information, and we're subtly encouraging them to make a better decision, right? To make a less expensive decision. So the rest of the process, right? The traveler books their trip as they normally would. They click through the screen, book their ticket. Once that travel reservation is ticketed, we actually grab the itinerary, and then we start tracking that for savings, right? Then in the real world, the traveler goes on their trip, they come back from their trip, they do their expense report, hopefully on time. And once that expense report is approved and processed, we'll actually integrate that data back into TripKicks. We use AI to match that against their budget and their itinerary that we're tracking for savings. And once that match is done, we'll generate an email to the traveler that looks something like this. It lets them know that we've matched their expense. And then we ask them to come in and just confirm that everything looks good with their trip. So they'll click that button, and this takes them directly into their trip record in TripKicks. So this is really the first time in the process that they're interacting with TripKicks. Everything else has either been directly in their T&E tool or through email. So here they're going to see that we're going to show them, yep, that was my budget, that's what I booked, and then we're pre-populating their expensed amount and showing that to them. And if everything looks good, we just ask them to tell us how they saved, right? Maybe they picked an early morning flight that was a little less expensive, and then they submit the trip for review. So it's very simple for a traveler. Then it goes to our reconciliation process to make sure that everything looks good with that trip, making sure that there are no change fees, there are no seat upgrade fees, early boarding fees, anything like that. After it's processed, the rewards you can see here, a traveler can easily keep track of their rewards points. At any point in time, they can really come into the rewards platform. And again, this is going to be set up a little differently for company to company, also from country to country, maybe within a company, right? You might not see a Southwest Airlines gift card to another if you're outside of the States. But if we want to redeem rewards, let's pick an Amazon gift card. Really simple, one-to-one. 1 point is $1. We want to redeem a $15 Amazon gift card. Come in here, and then we redeem it, and then we get the e-gift card emailed shortly after. So it's a really simple process for the traveler. We've got some basic reporting for the traveler as well. They can keep track of their trips. They can see the status of their rewards. And of course, for a manager or an admin, we've got more robust scorecards and dashboards so they can really analyze the data and track the behavior across an organization and really see the results, right? We can see what tactics are most popular. And hey, each time somebody, does elect to stay with a friend or family or, use personal miles, what is that worth to an organization? So it's really transparent. One last piece, we also support the ability for, we know that not all bookings are going to be made through the online booking tool. Sometimes you need to call an agent if it's complex. We support that as well with this Create New Budget button. You can come in here and it pops up a simple screen where you enter some search parameters, and then you click Calculate Budget, and then you'll be all set to call the agent. So that's the very quick demo of TripKicks, and obviously love to go into more detail if folks are interested. But just to keep rolling along, the outcomes that we find are really powerful. Companies are able to save significantly by changing traveler behavior. We're able to further drive program compliance, right? As more people are compelled to use the online booking tool to do their expense reports on time. And of course, it's a nice perk and benefit for the traveler, right? It addresses the "what's in it for me" question, which helps organizations improve their traveler satisfaction goals. Finally, we're success-based. We retain a small percentage of the savings, and the rest is shared between the company and the traveler, right? And the company gets to determine how they want to allocate that between themselves and the traveler. So our goal is to really make it easy, easy to pilot. Sure, we do a business case for companies when they're kind of exploring the tool, but we really want to make it easy for them to see the results for themselves with a handful of users. So, in summary, we're really excited to offer a solution that makes it easy for organizations to embrace the concept of rewarding travelers for going above and beyond in a way that really makes sense for them. All right. I guess we'll open it up for questions now, Brian.
Sounds great. I actually already have 2 on the deck, but I do have a question.
Great.
Or I do have something to say. If there's anyone who has a question that you'd like to ask, there is the little bar on the right-hand side, the sidebar. There's an area that says questions, and feel free to put them in there, and we'll be glad to get back to you. If we don't get it answered during this webinar, I will make sure I send you an email afterwards that answers your question. So first off, I actually have a question from James that says, in real numbers, how does this increase compliance? I think he means in real numbers, what percentage of an increase do you see in compliance? Can you measure that?
That's a good question. I mean, it's certainly measurable from a company's standpoint. What we find is that, companies have different goals when it comes to compliance, and we really want to understand what they are and set up the platform so that it's encouraging what they care most about, right? So maybe they're rolling out a new corporate card program, right? Or changing their card provider, or trying to, the first time they're introducing the corporate card program. And we want to be able to baseline, what's the adoption today, what's our target, and how can we help improve that? So we would advise during the implementation on the way that, the usage of the corporate card really aligns to the rewards perspective, right? It might be a requirement to be rewarded. So it's important for us to be able to kind of baseline where a company is at the point in time that we are, doing the install. And then, of course, fast forward several months later, we're in a good position to really gauge the impact that it has on a specific compliance lever. But what we found is that, different things are going to be important to different organizations, but we'll definitely take the time to understand what they are and have a good process so that we could measure the result there. So sorry that it's not like one uniform answer, but I'd love to, speak to you afterwards if there's specific goals you have in mind and how we might be able to help with that.
All right. And then this next question actually comes from me. We have a couple clients on the line here. And so I guess I thought I would ask for Sammy and Kathy just to see, is this something that they can do a trial run or a pilot first? Or do you require, okay, if we're going to implement it, there needs to be a deposit and a down payment, and we need upfront. Is this something they can try out, or is this kind of a hit the ground running, all or nothing?
Yeah, great question. So we actually really encourage companies to pilot it. We, as I mentioned briefly, we do a really thorough business case, but I mean, the best way to see the results are to roll it out for a department, a handful of users, and really gauge the impact it's going to have. And we encourage organizations to do that. So we can turn on TripKicks for one user, a handful of users. Obviously, we wouldn't want to do it for just one, but we can turn it on for any kind of amount of users or groups that a company is looking for. So we definitely are very, we're very big proponents on piloting it, because we find that it's the best way to make the case for a broader rollout.
All right. I got one more question here from Adam, and I think that's about all we have time for. But if you ask any questions, I'll make sure I get the answers to you. His question here is, what online booking tools, what OBTs are you compatible with?
Yep. So right now we're live with Concur Travel. We're in discussions with the other major OBTs, and it's really just a matter of kind of priorities for both of us as we see a stronger demand for one versus another. But it's definitely on our roadmap to continue to build out that integration, and some are in progress right now.
Well, sounds good. Well, thank you all. That concludes today's Travel Tech in 20 presented by Executive Travel. I'd like to thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to join us for the technology overview. I know as well as you do that time is precious, so I do appreciate it. I'd also like to thank Jeff and TripKicks for presenting today. A couple quick reminders before I let you go. First off, we only have one more Travel Tech in 20 for this calendar year. We're going to take December off. And that is going to be Spot Hero is going to be here on November 7th. Also tomorrow you will be receiving an email with the recording and the presentation. If you have any questions, if you want to review it, feel free in your own time. And then if you ever want to get another demo or ask any questions, Jeff's information is right there on the screen. It'll be in everything we send you tomorrow, or you can always contact someone here at Executive Travel and we'll get you in contact. And then lastly, you can always visit executivetravel.com. We have a Travel Tech in 20 page where you can see all of our previous presentations as well as see what we have upcoming. So thank you all again for joining us today, and have a great rest of your day. Thank you.